and welcome to the Business and Everything in the Middle podcast, sponsored by the EDC, the Economic Development Corporation of Kansas City. Today, we are delighted to have Ms. Teresa McCord, Interim CEO and President of the EDC. Welcome.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Lee Brown, Controller for the EDC. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
Ms. McCord, clearly you serve in a position of leadership, one that is unprecedented for a Black woman. I want you to tell our listeners just a little bit about how you came to your current position.
Well, I started at EDC as a Senior Vice President, Chief Administrative Officer, and some of my responsibilities were IT, HR, and Loan Corp. And that really gave me an opportunity to not only expand my horizons, but to also meet a lot of great people here in Kansas City and to make a difference in Kansas City. When I was appointed this position, I found at first it was a little nerve-wracking. It just was, because I just felt like there was so much to do. There were so many people that we needed to meet, and we wanted to make an impact. We didn't want to just be there. And so I looked at it like the stress is worth it for the difference that we would make in Kansas City. One of the main things that I wanted to do was I wanted to get the message out that, one, that EDC looks like the community, number one. Number two, that EDC is for all of Kansas City. And so that is a message that we have been trying to get out, and we will continue to focus on that as long as we need to.
That is a perfect segue to my first official question to you, which is, what differences have you seen in the EDC's impact on the economic climate in the city since you've been there?
Well, I think one of the things we're seeing now is we're seeing different stakeholders at this point than what we have seen in the past. We're getting more opportunities to make an impact, to be a resource, especially for small businesses in the city, because there's a vital need there. They make such an impact. They create the majority of the jobs, and most of them, they're very good at what they do. Where they sometimes need the assistance in is in access to capital. Another one is sometimes they need that resource or that assistance in, sometimes it's bookkeeping, sometimes it's accounting. It's not about their business. You know, small business owners are very good at what they do, but they need assistance in the back office operations. And that's where EDC is one of the ways that EDC can be a resource to them. The other way is that we do small business loans. And the way we are structured, because it's under EDC, we have the flexibility as far as structuring the payments, the interest rates, the terms of the loan. And again, to make sure that we are not putting them in further debt that they cannot pay. We're going to make sure that it works for them and it works for EDC. And I think that's critical. I think that's major. And I think it's impactful.
I would definitely agree. And I think that you kind of led me into my next question, which would be, why is there a need for an organization like the EDC? And I think that you spoke to it when you said that you provide services that not only attract businesses to Kansas City, but help to support those existing businesses. Do you see a benefit in having it kind of held in one hub so that people kind of can one-stop shop when they come to an entity like the EDC?
Exactly. I think what frustrates a lot of business owners, again, especially our small business owners, is when they hear things like, well, you have to go to this building to get this done. Then you go to this building to get this done. Then you have to send an email or get online to get this done. And I think that's very time consuming for small business owners. They don't have time for that. And that's really not where their area of expertise is. But it is where our area of expertise is, because if it's something that EDC does not do, if it's not in our toolbox, we know where to refer you to. And so when you get a loan with EDC, regardless of the size of the loan, we're walking you through that process on the information that you need, what it needs to look like. You're submitting it all to one place. So again, that's not a point of frustration for you, because what we want you to be able to say when you walk away is, EDC took care of me. The people were very easy to work with. They served the needs that I needed to get my loan, and they helped me with my business. That is our goal.
Absolutely. And so thinking about those small businesses and small business owners that are super impactful to our city, and they do really kind of fall into that framework of what the stability for our economic ecosystem provides.
Sure.
Think about some of those larger projects and how we attract people to Kansas City. What is the best part about bringing your business to Kansas City?
Well, I think number one is the people. It's got to be. I mean, Kansas City people, they're some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet.
Yes.
They're some of the sharpest people you'll ever meet.
Yes.
And they'll do what it takes to get the job done. They're not going to leave you out there. Even when people just come to visit Kansas City, they always speak to how nice Kansas City people are. And that's real. That's genuine.
And I think that that's very important for those of us. I'm a business development officer, as you know, with the EDC.
And a very good one.
Thank you. And a lot of my conversations involve how amazing the city of Kansas City is, but it has to start with the people.
Sure.
So my last question for you, looking toward the future, what would your best advice to a company be that's either thinking of moving its business to Kansas City or starting a business in Kansas City? How would you advise them?
I think number one, I would ask them to do is to contact the Economic Development Corporation. That's number one. So that not only are you in touch with the city's economic engine, but also so that you know that you will have a person that's dedicated specifically to assisting you with your needs, whether that's an attraction issue and you want to know why are you coming to Kansas City? Well, you're coming to Kansas City because of the work ethic, because of the people that are here, because of the resources that EDC has, because Kansas City is in the middle of the country, so it's not a railway issue, a streetcar issue, restaurants, barbecue. I mean, there's a plethora of reasons of why we would want you to come and why we think you should come. And if you have a conversation with us, you will see that very quickly.
I totally agree. I love Kansas City, and I'm always proud to see new businesses sprout up. I'm also very proud to see the businesses that have remained sustainable through a pandemic where a lot of cities struggled much more than we did. So I think that there's something to be said about the resilience of the citizens of Kansas City.
Sure.
So I know that you're a very hands-on leader, and your job has to come with a great deal of lots of balls in the air, lots of stress, lots of unexpected events day to day. But what would you say is the absolute best part of your job?
The best part for me is when we're able to help a small business and they come to the office and they tell us how much this has helped them. We had a business owner, and this was probably about 6 months ago. Her and her husband owned the business, and her husband passed during the pandemic. But she wanted to keep the business open, and so she had received a loan from us. And when she came into the office, she broke down in tears. She was so grateful and conveyed to us how this loan, and it was a small loan, but it was going to help her keep the doors open and continue operating the business that her and her husband had built. And this is somebody that in your normal day-to-day activities, you may have never met them. But because of what EDC does, it allowed us to meet folks like that and to help folks like that. So it's events like that let me know, one, I'm doing the right thing. Two, all the stress is worth it because there are days. I'm like anybody else. I'm like any other leader. There are days. But those type of events make it worth it.
I think that's important to me personally because sometimes in my conversations in the community, people don't know what the EDC does.
Sure.
And so you say it and it sounds like a very remote, removed organization, and people forget that we touch lives daily.
Absolutely.
And I think that is, if there was any other sentiment that I would love to get forward in this episode, it's that the EDC is capable of touching lives. We're willing to touch lives, and we're totally invested in the success of our city.
Absolutely.
Mr. Brown, that takes me to you. You are the controller for the EDC of Kansas City.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to that role.
Well, I came to that role from Miss McCord about 6 years ago. I was hired as a controller. I started my career off in public accounting, moved to manufacturing, and now I'm been at the EDC for 6 years. Love what I do. Wear a lot of hats every day.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's very rewarding to see the results of your hard work every day.
Absolutely. And for those listeners who might not know what a controller does, can you speak to a little bit about what your specific responsibilities are?
Really, I'm a bean counter.
A bean counter. I like it. I like it.
But there are days when I may get pulled into different parts of our organization. I think one of the biggest things when you talk about EDC is people don't know that not only do we do economic development, we do land redevelopment, we do loans. So our tentacles of EDC are just not from economic development, BREs, attracting businesses, but it's also trying to create an ecosystem within Kansas City so that we can bring those small entrepreneurs, those startups, those folks who are looking for redeveloping blighted areas so that they can do certain things in their communities. I think it gives us an opportunity to put our names out there, put our stamps on things out there in the community that will allow us to help those small businesses. It's not always the big businesses. I won't put any names on it, but it's really the small Joe Blow who doesn't know where to go. And he comes into the door, and we want to be in that one building so that if LCRA can't help you, we can send you to EDC. EDC can't help you. EDC Loan could help you. Things like 18th and Vine, where those entrepreneurs can come and feel welcome to be able to grow their businesses, their startups, and things of that nature. And again, if we can help you, maybe we send you to BizCare, maybe we send you to KC SourceLink, but we're trying to give you the opportunities to keep you within the ecosystem, because not only will you be able to grow, but you will be other people who are in the ecosystem with you who will be able to grow their businesses as well. Network, access to resources and capital and things of that nature.
I appreciate that. And you said two things that really stand out to me. First of all, anyone who's driven through any of the inner city parts of Kansas City, the urban core specifically, knows that there's a ton of redevelopment going on right now. And sometimes that redevelopment can look scary. Even though we want to be progressive and we want to welcome it, we sometimes feel that we're losing our neighborhoods. And I can personally say that the EDC has so supported small businesses that we can see our impact daily. But for those people that cannot, talk a little bit about how you see the redevelopment that's happening currently in Kansas City and how you feel it's going to be impactful.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is I think we have shifted from an EDC standpoint our position on helping the urban core. I think that was one of the things Ms. McCord spoke on is, making it available to everyone. I think one of the biggest things is no one really focused on that. And so those people felt disenfranchised. And so what ends up happening is, they may even know what those three letters mean, but it's almost like they're way over here. They're a country away. They're a continent away. And so what we want to do is bring those people in. And again, maybe we can help you, but how can we bring you into that ecosystem so that, hey, you know what, there's a business over there doing the exact same thing I'm doing, and maybe I'm not doing it right, but if I can talk to those people, or maybe we can talk to a Karis or talk to an Andy on 18th and Vine, and that startup business can now progress and know where the resources are. And, maybe we can grow and start building programming initiatives, things of that nature. One of our biggest initiatives, again, 18th and Vine. And so, it makes it to where people feel inclusive. We have diversity. And so that allows us to help anyone that comes through those doors. That's our main goal.
I love that. And you mentioned 18th and Vine, and that's going to resonate with anyone who's lived in Kansas City, because that definitely is it's a very important, very core center of our city. And I think that those of us that frequent it, we know the changes. We've seen it from 20 years ago, and then, for someone my age, 30 years ago, and possibly even 40. So looking at that and knowing that the EDC has a very permanent stance there and is dedicated to supporting those business owners, those stakeholders, and the members of that community is a powerful force. If you had to say that EDC does blank best, what would you say that blank is?
Helping small businesses in Kansas City, in urban core, but just all of Kansas City. We have a plethora of loans that we give out. We don't just give out loans to the urban core. We give out loans to massage and spa businesses. We give it out to restaurants. We give it to, advertising agencies. So we're diverse in our portfolio and saying, if you come to us, we'll work with you. Let's see if we can get this done, because ultimately, if you create one job, that is money for the city
Yes.
from an earnings tax standpoint.
Yes.
That is retaining that business. And again, somebody will always say word of mouth. I went down to the EDC, and the EDC loan helped me out. And, one of our, I don't want to say his name, but he spoke on a video that said the easiest loan I got, the easiest process was going
from
down
the EDC.
for the EDC. And so
I think I saw that video.
Yeah. So what we want to do is just make sure that we are available to you, and how can we work for you? Because we're here to work for you.
Absolutely.
We're an arm of the city, but we want to work to make sure that everybody in Kansas City is being served by the EDC.
Two great points there. First of all, I'd like to give you a scenario, if possible. So I'm going to be a brand new prospective business owner. So I have a business plan. I don't have too much else, but I have a plan. I have something that I want to do. When I walk into your office, how would you advise me? What's my first step?
The first step is, if you don't have a business plan, let's send you over to KC BizCare.
Awesome.
Let's get you started, and then KC BizCare takes care of you. Then you come back and say, okay, I've been in business now for 2 years. I'm ready. And so
Yes.
then at that point, we take on the responsibility for you to say, how can we get you from here to here? We want you to be a success story for us and for Kansas City, not just for us, but we want you from a Kansas City standpoint to sing our praises, but to sing Kansas City praises,
Yes.
to say Kansas City is where you want to be. Kansas City is, where to open up a business. And we want to not only revitalize certain parts of the city. I mean, when you think of 31st and Truth,
Yes.
10 years ago, we would have never said,
What a
let's go down
difference.
there.
What
and
a difference.
Yes.
What a difference.
But now if you look at it, we have businesses that we've given loans in that area. And so all we're trying to do is just make sure that, again, we're working for the people of Kansas City. They know we're here, and they're going to keep coming back to us. And even and after that, they may send us somebody else. So we just keep that ecosystem going until finally there's some inclusion, some diversity.
Yes.
And, that's where we want to be.
And that's powerful. And I think that kind of closes the gap on what many people don't understand about the EDC. Now, you said something, you both spoke and mentioned and referenced the city a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Is there a connection between the city of Kansas City and the EDC of Kansas City?
Sure. Well, EDC, we work in very close proximity with the EDC. We work very parallel as far as what the city does. But we are a nonprofit organization. But again, we basically follow the city's lead.
And I think that's probably why we can point to all the progress, because the city of Kansas City understood the need for development,
Sure.
understood the need for some attention to the urban core. One of the things, and I'll share this with Mr. Brown, Ms. McCord, the two things that I've heard people say under your leadership is how different the EDC is targeted those urban core communities, because there was a need, and there had to be, if there's a void, you have to find a way to fill that void.
Absolutely.
I think we're remiss as people if we ignore the void.
Sure.
So if someone were to ask me, what does the EDC do well to target those voids, to figure out what is needed and what's going to make our city a powerful, progressive destination city. So it used to be people would love to be from Kansas City but didn't want to go to Kansas City, and I think we're watching that turn around, and I now hear about people moving from other places into Kansas
Absolutely.
City. That's powerful, because back to what Mr. Brown said, strengthening those communities. If I'm a small business owner, I'm living in my city as well, right? So now I'm invested in my neighborhood. I'm using my dollars from my business to support other businesses, and those networking opportunities are invaluable as well. Mr. Brown, what's the best part of your job?
Well, I think the best part of my job is every day we're an advocate to make sure Kansas City is better. I think one of the things we are remiss in is making sure that everyone knows, as much as aligned we are with the city, we're an advocate for the city.
Yes.
We want everybody to come to Kansas City. We want everybody to stay in Kansas City, because, again, $1 of e-tax goes a long way to helping schools, to helping workforce development, to helping economic development. That's really what we get up for every day, is to make sure those businesses say, hey, you know what? I want to stay here. And I can talk to the guy across the street and say, you know what? As much as I may want to move to Overland Park, and nothing against Overland Park or Olathe or Raymore.
Sure.
Kansas City, the core of Kansas City, and the city of Kansas City wants you to be here.
Yes.
And we're just working on behalf of the citizens of Kansas City to make sure that we can operate and make sure that people are happy with what the job we're doing, and making sure that you stay here, making sure that you are loving it here.
Yes,
and that's
yes.
really what we want every day. That's my best scenario of getting up in the morning is when you drive by a business and you know somehow, some way, in a very small way, you help keep that business here.
Yes.
That's a passion that it can't be replaced by a paycheck or anything else.
I totally agree. Well, I want to thank you both for your leadership, first of all, because I do believe that there's been a change at the EDC, and I do believe that that change is reflected in what we see in our city. So we all live in the city, so we get to be proud of that, but we also get to be benefactors of what this new city looks like. So thank you both for that. And also thank you to the EDC for powering this particular podcast. This is our premiere episode. Again, it is business and everything in the middle. We're going to cover lots of topics on our next several episodes, but I thank you both for being our first guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Karis Harrington. I'm your host for Business and Everything in the Middle, powered by the EDC.